Winning Blueprint presents.
Draft Zone.
Welcome to the Draft Zone. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. What we look to do here in the Draft Wrap-Up Series is break down the 2013 NFL Draft of every single team in the National Football League. And how we go about doing that is looking at every single pick made by the team in question. Today, we'll be talking about the Detroit Lions, breaking down their draft and every one of their 9 selections, looking at the pick itself, the player, of course, but not only the player, but the pick itself, how it was made, where it was made, and how this player might be able to impact the Detroit Lions team in 2013 and possibly moving forward. The way we'll give them grades is via our baseball grading scale, as we always use in the draft zone and in the lab room. Single, double, triple, home runs will be the grades given out to these players. There are no strikeouts here in the draft wrap-up series, as we can never tell if these players are going to turn out, well or not. We don't know if they're going to pan out. And each player in this draft has a different grade given to them and assigned to them by every single team in the National Football League. One team might have a top 10 grade on a player. That same player might not be on another team's board until the second round. So you can never tell where players are going to be taken. And so we can't say if they were reached for or not. And so there are no strikeouts here in the draft wrap-up series. So we'll take the Lions and every one of their 9 selections, give them a grade, add them up, get an aggregate score for the Detroit Lions. After we get that aggregate score, we'll have a feel for what the Detroit Lions were able to accomplish in this draft as a whole. So I've got my draft board behind me. If you've been following this series, I always have my trusty handy dandy pointer in attendance to help me out with this process. Well, he is no longer in commission. May he rest in peace. To replace him, and as we all know in the National Football League, next man up, the magic wand. So I'll be waving this wand around to help me direct through this board and through this draft of the Detroit Lions. So I have my wand. I got the draft board. Let's get to work on the Detroit Lions and what they were able to accomplish in this draft. We start with the needs board. And for the Lions, it was a disappointing 2012 campaign. All right. They go from making the playoffs and a 10-win team in 2011 to a 4-win team and a team that struggled to get it done in 2012. So looking at this needs board, these are needs that are very prevalent with this football team. Defensive end. You go out and get Jason Jones. Don't know if you plan on using him inside or outside of defensive end. Doesn't matter. You can still use help after losing a guy like Cliff Averill in free agency. You can definitely use some defensive end help. You look at offensive line. Your left tackle, Jeff Backus, of the last decade or so, retires on you. You look at the other side, Gosher Charles leaves in free agency, heads to Indy. You need offensive line help. You might be comfortable with what you have. You drafted Riley Reef in the first round a season ago. You also have a guy like Jason Fox on your roster. So maybe you feel comfortable at the tackle position. But you can definitely use some offensive line help, whether it's inside at guard or outside at tackle. Either way, you could use some help. Wide receiver. We know this is an issue. Last year, it was shown. And your lack of depth at the receiver position was very evident. Injuries and some mishaps off the field really showed that you don't have enough depth at the receiver position. There is not a Robin to Calvin Johnson's Batman in Detroit right now, and you need that. Nate Burleson gets injured. Titus Young, head case. You don't have any receivers that can help out Calvin Johnson. So you got to help him out. I was actually impressed with Durham at the end of the season, but you don't want him being your number 2 receiver. You need help. And look, just as Ryan Broyles started to emerge, that old ACL monster crept up on him again. Some of those issues he was having at college, you need help at receiver. So you look at cornerback, you were one of the worst passing defenses in the league last year. It's no secret. Teams could come into Detroit and pass all over you. You need not look any further than the Indianapolis Colts game where you dominated. You should have won. Your secondary let you down tremendously. You lose that football game. You need help in the secondary. Always helps if you can get pressure on the quarterback, but it always helps too if your back end can cover, and your secondary was very porous last season. So with that said, let's look at the draft board round. Pick, players, position, school. Starting the first round, 5th overall selection, defensive end out of BYU, Ziggy Ansah. Ezekiel Ziggy Ansah. Look, a lot of people were very high on this guy. A lot of people think that this guy has the biggest bust potential in this draft. He's a boom or bust. They made up the term boom or bust with guys like him in mind. I think Mike Mayock said it best. And it was no disrespect to Ziggy Ansah or the Detroit Lions organization for making this pick. But in 3 years, Ziggy Ansah could be an NFL All-Pro, or he could be walking the streets to Utah. It's really simple. This guy could either be an all-world defensive end that gets you double-digit sacks every season, or this guy could be someone that doesn't pan out in the league and could flame out of the National Football League before his rookie contract expires. Is there some kind of in-between? Sure there is. But when they say boom or bust, they're talking about a guy like Ziggy Ansah. But I don't choose to focus in on that because I think this guy has immense potential. And that's what's going to carry him through. That's what made him a top 5 pick. That's what has everyone salivating about the prospects of Ziggy Ansah. The upside. 6'5", 270, extremely strong and physical at the point of attack, can run like a deer. He has everything you look for. The explosion, he can bend at the hips. He's a little stiff at times, but this is the key word for the Detroit Lions in this draft. You ready? This is the key sight word. Coaching. And you're going to see that with a lot of these picks. Coaching. If these guys are coached up, and Ziggy Ansah is one of them, if he's coached up, right now to me, he's too mechanical. He doesn't have a lot of football experience. 3 years ago, this guy wasn't even on the NFL landscape. Wasn't on the radar. No one even knew his name. He burst onto the scene. He shows you the athleticism. He shows up at the Senior Bowl and absolutely dominates. In the game, the practice, he was subpar. In the game, he was the best player on the field. And so here comes the legend of Ziggy Ansah. It grows and grows by the day. So now, coaching is the key because this guy is extremely raw. He needs to be coached up. If you can do that, if you can get Ziggy Ansah to realize what it's going to take to be a defensive end, to get him to be more instinctual. Right now, this guy is extremely mechanical. If you tell him, hey, don't move, stay outside, protect the edge, send everything back inside, that's exactly what he's going to do. Even if he can diagnose a play and see that, hey, this play is a draw on the inside, I could probably crash down and go and make a tackle. He's going to stay where you tell him to because he's mechanical. He has to be more instinctual. He has to use his instincts, trust his eyes, make plays that way. If his job is to crash inside and he sees that it's a screen, I don't know if he's going to go out and react fast enough because he's mechanical. Coaching. If he's coached up, you can have a well of an athlete on your hands that can do some serious damage on that defensive line in that division. I think this is a pick with immense potential, and thus it's a home run for the Detroit Lions with the 5th overall selection in the first round, defensive end out of BYU, Ziggy Ansah. Ezekiel Ziggy Ansah. It's a home run. So, Detroit, you can put it on the Bud Lions. It's a home run in the form of Ezekiel Ziggy Ansah, defensive end out of BYU, with the 5th pick in the first round for the Detroit Lions. So we look at the second round. 36th overall selection, cornerback out of Mississippi State, Darius Slade. I actually had questions about this pick. Not about the player more so than the pick. Thought maybe you could use an offensive lineman here, but okay. You definitely needed cornerback help, so I can't dispute that. I wasn't sure if you got the right one or not. Mississippi State had two really good cornerbacks. I wasn't sure if you got the right one or not. I thought Jonathan Banks, the longer of the two corners, the 6'2 cornerback out of Mississippi State as well, might have been the better option here. But look, you were looking for speed. He's not as fast as Banks, but at 6'2, he's longer. He's more physical. I just thought the Lions could use a little bit of a change of pace here. You always seem to have the guys that are burners, that can run really fast, but they're not extremely long. They're not extremely physical. You got Chris Houston on one side. I like that. I just thought maybe Banks would have fit in what you were trying to do a little bit better. But okay, you get Darius Slade, 6-foot corner, still a little bit long. Running at 4.3 40 helps a lot. But he's dealing with an issue with an injury. I think he kept it kind of quiet, but he has a meniscus injury, going to need surgery. I think he's already had that surgery. Is he going to be ready for camp? You don't want guys starting off behind the 8 ball already. It's too early for that. But he's got a little bit of an injury there. But on the field, Slade is a really good football player. He uses his arms well, very strong hands. He's one of those guys that slaps at the wrist, so he makes it tough to catch the football. If you've got powerful hands and you can time it up and slap the wrist, you can force some incompletions. And he was a master at that at Mississippi State. So if he can continue to do that in the National Football League, that'll help him and benefit him very well. This is the issue, though. At 6 feet, he's only about $195, so he's really light. I think he can stand to gain about 10 or 15 pounds of muscle. Be nice if he can get in the weight room and build up his body and continue to have that speed, though. See, everyone can't carry 205, 210 pounds. He's at 195. He's been at 195. So I don't know if Darius Slade is the same guy at 210 as he is at 195. But he can definitely put on some more weight. He's a little light. And him being a little light doesn't benefit him in the run game. He's not a very tough run defender. In fact, when he is blocked in the run game, he's a sticky guy. Guys block him, and he sticks to those receivers. They have an easy time blocking him because he's not heavy. He's not a guy that is very, very strong at the point of attack when in the run game. And again, I just talked about how light he is in the trunks. And so he's not a guy that's going to really help you like you would like in the run game. But you drafted Darius Slade to be a defender in the pass, and he needs to be able to come up and tackle. And so that's a part of his game he's going to have to work on. But you drafted him to stop teams like the Packers from throwing the football all over you in this division. And so he's going to have a tough assignment because there are guys in your division that can catch the football. Vikings made some upgrades to their receiver position. So you definitely needed to make a selection like this. I don't know if you got the right one or not. We'll see. But I like Darius Slade a lot. I think he's going to be a very good corner in this league. Quarterback out of Mississippi State in the second round, 36th overall selection. Darius Slade is a triple for me in this draft for the Detroit Lions. Let's look at the needs board. Lions handle a couple of needs. And I got defensive end as a need. And normally I put defensive line. But for the Detroit Lions, you don't need defensive tackle help. That's situated. You need defensive end help. So Ziggy Ansah fixes that. You needed cornerback help. Darius Slade helps you in that capacity. So looking good for the Lions early on. We go to the third round, 65th overall selection, offensive guard out of Kentucky, Larry Warford. Now, Warford, for me, might be one of the most polished guards in this draft. We had some guys taking off the board earlier than him. Of course, we had two guards go in the top 15 in this draft. But for me, those guys were taken because of upside and athletic ability. He's not athletic, not as athletic as those guys are. But what he is a mauler. Physical, strong, tough. Everything you look for in a guard in the interior of your offensive line. Larry Warford is that. And then some. And Mike Mayock said that this was one of his favorite players in the draft. And I can see why. Because every time you watch him, he's getting the job done. And, of course, being 6'5", 330 pounds, you're definitely going to find it hard to redirect his body. So if he's going down the field at the second level, if a guy just moves out of the way, it's not going to be easy to stop a 6'5", 330 frame from going in one direction. I say it all the time. It's like a train going down the tracks. If you just pop onto the tracks at the last minute, that train isn't going to be able to just stop right on the dime. Same thing with Larry Warford. He's running straight, and he's got a cornerback in his sights or a safety, and all of a sudden that cornerback gives him a quick move and darts out of the way. He's not going to be able to dart right into the way of that cornerback. But look, this guy is what you're looking for in the interior of your offensive line. He's solid, he anchors, he's strong, very strong hands. Look, if you can get to him first before he gets to you, you can make some headway against Larry Warford. But if he gets his hands on you, forget about it. You're finished for that particular play. You're done. And I love Larry Warford's game. I think he's going to benefit the Detroit Lions. And I think for a long time, the Lions have looked to guys that can pass protect because they're a passing offense. But their running game has suffered because of it. Here's a guy that kind of flips that script for you, gives you some diversity. He's not one-dimensional. He's not just a pass blocker. He's a guy that can pass protect, but he's a mauler in the run game, which is what I think you need, especially with an addition like Reggie Bush. You want to run the football a little bit more. Here's a guy that's going to help you do that in the form of the guard out of Kentucky in the third round, 65th overall selection. Larry Warford, for me, is a triple going to help you in immense ways that you can't even imagine on your offensive line. So you look at the fourth round, pick 132. This is a compensatory pick, defensive end out of South Carolina, Devin Taylor. And he's always been the other guy. Right now at South Carolina, everybody's salivating and drooling over Jadeveon Clowney. Before Clowney, there was Melvin Ingram, and he's been there for all of it. He's always been the other guy. Yeah. The guy on the opposite side of whoever was being drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. It's always been Devin Taylor. And so here's his opportunity to step out of that limelight and do something and make a name for himself. The problem is he's a 6'7", long, 6'7", 270-pound defender. And when you're that big, it's hard for you to move around normally. There's some guys that are athletic freaks. He's not one of them. He's 6'7", he's 270, and a lot of people think that there's room for him to grow even more in terms of his frame and size. He's not growing any more inches. He's not going to wake up tomorrow and be 6'9". He's 6'7", but they think that he's got more than enough space to fill out on his frame to become 285, 290, potentially 300 pounds. I don't see that being necessary for Devin Taylor. I don't think he needs to get up to 300 pounds. But if he can get to 285 and just be a solid of a wall defender out there at defensive end, maybe you could kick him inside and allow him to be maybe a little bit more athletic at the defensive tackle position. Great. He just needs to find a niche in this league. And right now, I have question marks as to what his role in the league is going to be. Because if he does, in fact, put on 10, 15, 20 pounds of muscle or weight, period, all of a sudden, I don't know if he's what you're looking for in an end. Maybe you can kick him inside and he could become a mismatch nightmare. And at 6'7", just getting up and putting his hands up in the middle of the defense could cause problems for quarterbacks trying to throw the football. So there's value here in a 6'7" defender, wherever you put him at on your defensive line. But I have questions as to how he's going to fit in. He's not explosive. He's not a guy that changes direction well. And that's usually the case. That's usually the norm for defenders that are 6'5" and bigger. When you get up there at 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", hard for you to just start and stop. You're a big guy and you're a lumbering defender. So Devin Taylor fits into that type of mold. And so I want to see what the Lions are going to do, what they have in store for him. But here's another guy. Wait for it. Wait for it. That needs coaching. Really good coaching. If Devin Taylor gets that and has a direction, if the Lions have a direction for this guy, I think he can turn out to be a really good pick for you. In the fourth round, pick 132, defensive end out of South Carolina, Devin Taylor for me is a double. And the reason he's a double is because I have questions. Too many questions, not enough answers. I don't even know where this guy is going to play. He's drafted as a defensive end, but he's probably going to put on some more weight. Where will he be? What are you looking for out of him? We'll see. A lot of questions, waiting for some answers. He's a double right now for me in the 4th round. So now we're in the 5th round, and for me, this was the part of the draft. I had a Scooby-Doo moment. In the 5th round, 165th overall selection from the Baltimore Ravens, punter out of Appalachian State, Sam Martin. What are we doing here? I don't care how bad your punting situation was a year ago. It should never warrant a punter being selected in the first 5 rounds. You want to take a punter in the 6th or the 7th round? Be my guest. Have at it. But to me, you build your football team for the future in the 4th and 5th rounds. You can't afford to be wasting selections on punters. Now, if this was a field goal kicker, I'm singing a different tune. We've seen field goal kickers over the last year, and last year was the golden year for field goal kickers. We saw guys like Blair Walsh and Legatron come into the league and absolutely light it up. And so field goal kickers can change the game for you. Definitely. Punters, not so much. I'm still fuming that the Jacksonville Jaguars decided to take anger at the punter position in the 3rd round last year. See, when you take a punter in the first 5 rounds, that tells me that you expect to be punting a lot in the upcoming season. Otherwise, you wouldn't even waste your time spending a pick on a punter in the first 5 rounds of the draft. Look, if you want to spend one in the 6th or the 7th round, knock yourself out. But the 5th round, 4th round, 3rd round, 2nd round, 1st round picks are too valuable to be wasting them on punters. And I don't care how you view punters. Look, we undervalue the special teams game as a whole in the National Football League. And I'm guilty. I really value field goal kickers because they put points directly on the scoreboard or can take them off if they're not any good. Punters, yeah, they impact the game because if you have a bad punter, he kicks a 22-yard punt out of bounds, he gives the other team immediately good field position. Or if he's really good and he booms it and coffin kicks it, or he has it bounce backwards at the 2-yard line and you down it at the 3, that's great. But I don't plan on punting often. I don't know about you and how you feel about your punting situation. But as an offense, I don't go into a season, a game, a possession thinking I'm going to have to punt. So a punter in the 5th round never makes any sense for me. Just doesn't. And so I don't know if the Lions are trying to tell me something here. Subliminal messaging, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to tell me that they plan on punting a lot in the 2013 season. But this isn't a good pick for me. It just doesn't make enough sense for me. I don't really like a punter in the 5th round. So I'm not going into Sam Martin, the player. He's a punter, okay? If he can kick, great. You can find a punter anywhere in this draft, even an undrafted rookie free agent, or you get a guy off the street, whatever. Don't waste a 5th round selection on one. It's a single for me. Punter out of Appalachian State, 5th round, 165th overall selection. Sam Martin is a single. Don't like the pick. Thought this was wasted space here. You could have been doing something more productive in the 5th round. 6th round selection, 171st overall selection, wide receiver out of Virginia Tech, Corey Fuller. All right? 6'2", 210, very athletic, great feet, good hands, can be a little bit stronger with the football in his hands, can be better with the jump ball when it's just tossed up there, because when you get a guy 6'2" or better, you want to just be able to throw the football up and say, hey, go make a play for me. If it's one-on-one coverage, it's you and a defender, mano a mano, and if my quarterback gives me an opportunity to go up and make a play, I need a guy that's 6'2" to come down with the football for me. And so he could be better in that aspect as well. Here's another example. Wait for it. Wait for it. Coaching. If he gets a wide receiver coach that gives him the attention that he needs, focuses in on Corey Fuller's weaknesses, turns them into strengths, you might have your second receiver right here. Right here. Corey Fuller, 6'2". Fast. We're talking about a 4.4 40 guy. So, is he 0 to 60? No. He's not. No. He's... So, give him 5 or 6 steps, he's at that 4.4 40 speed. So, this guy has all the makings of being a really good receiver in this league. Coaching. Coach him up. Get him up to speed on what an NFL receiver looks like, plays like, and what he has to do blocking and what he needs to do getting in and out of his breaks, how he needs to create separation, where he needs to sit down in zone coverage. Show him everything that it takes to be a top-notch receiver, and you might have exactly that on your hands in the form of the receiver out of Virginia Tech in the 6th round, 171st overall selection, Corey Fuller. To me, it's a double because he has all the intangibles, but he needs a lot of coaching. He's still somewhat raw in my estimation. You coach this guy up, we could be talking about a two-headed monster that's dangerous in Detroit. In Megatron, heavens to Megatron, and Corey Fuller. Let's see if the coaching aspect can win you out here in the 6th round with Corey Fuller. So now we move on to your second 6th round selection, 199th overall selection from the San Francisco 49ers, running back out of Notre Dame, Theo Riddick. Here's a guy that's great at nothing, good at everything. Played some receiver at Notre Dame, was a running back in high school, really good, and a running back at Notre Dame as well. So you're getting a guy that understands route concepts, how to stick his foot in the ground, and be a mismatch out of the backfield when in pass routes. I love the versatility here with Theo Riddick. To me, he's Reggie Bush Jr. without the speed. All right, he can run, has explosive flashes, but it is not a top-end speed guy. But if you're looking for mismatches, and the Lions always are on the offensive side of the football, he's a guy that's going to help you in that capacity. Reggie Bush not in the game, still need to throw the football to somebody. Here's your man, Theo Riddick. Okay, he can come out of the backfield, catch it. He can also help you with pass pro. He's a solid blocker as well. And so Theo Riddick, to me, is a really good value pick here in the 6th round. A guy that can catch it out of the backfield, can run it a little bit for you. You can flank him out wide if you like in the slot, and he'll still create another mismatch. They're going to flank out a linebacker or a safety on him, and he's going to beat that guy 7 times out of 10. So you get a guy that you can play with. This is a toy, little piece that you can play with in the form of Theo Riddick. I love the selection. Think it's great value in the 6th round, running back out of Notre Dame. 6th round, 199th overall selection. Theo Riddick for me is a double. Really solid pick. A guy that you can move around on the football field as a nice little chess piece and have him make some plays for you. I like the pick. It's a double for me in the 6th round. Let's go to the needs board and look at what the Lions were able to do. You get a guy like Warford in the 3rd round. You get Fuller in the 6th round out of Virginia Tech. And so you handle a couple of more needs. You've cleaned up all your needs on this board. Let's clean up this draft now for the Detroit Lions. We're in the 7th round. 2 7th-round selections. The first of the two, 211, tight end out of Alabama, Michael Williams. Simply put, backup tight end, gives you depth. He's like another tackle on the field. At 6'6", 6'7", 6'5", somewhere in that general vicinity, 280 pounds. This guy is a walking tackle at the tight end position. He's big. He's lumbering. He's not going to separate in the pass game. He's a big target in the red zone, however. At 6'7", you can't miss him. He's going to box guys out, use his body, catch the football. But I don't think he helps you in between the 20s. Where his value is, if you're trying to throw him the football, is in the red zone. Because he gets in. And really, I'm not even talking about 20 yards out. More like at the 5-yard line, at the 7-yard line, where you're close to the end zone. You need a big target to present himself to the quarterback. Michael Williams can do that. He did it at Alabama. But where his greatest value is for you is blocking. You want to run the football? Put this guy in. He'll block. He'll be like another tackle on the field. Instead of you having 3 tackles on the field like you did a lot last year in your big package, when you put the jumbo package on the field, put Michael Williams in the game. He'll give you more versatility. He'll give you more athleticism, even though he runs like a tackle. He's not fast. He's not explosive at all. But he can move a little bit better than your standard run-of-the-mill 6'4", 6'5", 315-pounder. He can run a little bit faster. So put him in the game, and you'll get tackle production out of the tight end position. So solid pick here at the bottom half of this draft for you in the 7th round, 211th overall selection. Tight end out of Alabama, Michael Williams. Like the pick. Think he's a double because he serves a purpose on your football team. He's not just a guy that you draft it and hope he works out. You know exactly what you're getting. You're getting a blocking tight end, one that you currently really don't have on your roster. Sure, you've got a couple of guys that can block, not like this guy. And if you can get him to bring that hard hat and lunch pail mentality every single play, because sometimes he gets a little lazy. Coaching, once again, coaching, if you get that out of him every single play, you got yourself a really good tight end that can block and occasionally catch a pass for you as well. So we finish up the draft in the 7th round at pick 245 with Brandon Hepburn, linebacker out of Florida A&M. Went to a small school in the MEAC conference. He's a guy that runs fast, 4.5 40 type of guy. With that type of athleticism at 6'1", why not? You lose an athletic linebacker in the form of Justin Durant, and so you need depth, if nothing else. Hepburn can provide that for you. Stick him on special teams. He'll be a joy to have on your special teams unit in a pinch. Stick him in the game. See if he can help you out in that capacity as well. It's a solid pick, but again, long shot to make the roster. A lot of coaching needs to be done here as well. So in the 7th round, it's a single for Brandon Hepburn, linebacker out of Florida A&M, to wrap up your draft. And so you look at the Lions and what they were able to accomplish in this draft. And for me, look, top half of this draft, 4th round and up, think you did some things. Your first 3 picks, I like them a lot. I have question marks about every single one of them, maybe with the exception of Warford. But Ansah, boomer bust proposition. I think that he's going to shine in the NFL if the coaching is what it needs to be. This guy needs to be coached up. He's a big slab of clay that you got to mold and shape into what you want it to be. If you can do that, you have a perennial all-pro on your hands in the form of Ziggy Ansah. Darius Slade, I have questions. I think he has the answers, so I'm not really too worried about him at the cornerback position. Larry Warford, I think you got a really good player at the guard position. So as I go down this draft, as we continue to go down it, the problems start to arise and surface. Devin Taylor, questions all over the place. What is he? Is he going to fill out his frame some more? What is he going to be for you as a Detroit Lion? Don't know. Too many questions there. I don't like punters in the 5th round. I don't like punters in the 4th round, 3rd round, 2nd round, 1st round. You get my drift. I don't like punters in the first 5 rounds of any draft. You made a cardinal sin here, drafting one in the 5th round. I'm not a big fan of this one. 6th round, Fuller. I like this pick a lot because I think he has the potential to be what you're looking for as a Robin to Calvin Johnson's Batman. So if you can coach this guy up, he could be that number 2 receiver that you've been longing for a long time. So Theo Riddick, another guy that can help you, jack of all trades, can catch it out of the backfield, can give you some pass pro, and can run it out of the backfield. Love this pick. Think he provides a different dimension to your offense, much like Reggie Bush will in this upcoming season. Michael Williams, you have a purpose for him. Block. Block a lot. And then when we get in the red zone, I can throw you a bone every now and again. So I like that pick. Hepburn, long shot to make the roster, but speed at the linebacker position can help you on the special teams unit and can come in and give you some depth at linebacker. So in the middle of this draft, I have questions with Taylor and Martin. But overall, Ansah home run, Slade, triple, Warford, triple, Taylor, double, Martin, single, Fuller, double, Riddick, double, Williams, double, Hepburn, single. It's a double overall for the Lions in this draft. I think that they did a great job of addressing needs. You see all the needs are met here, and I thought that was vital for them taking that next step and getting back to where they were in 2011. You still got questions to answer, but with the offseason that you had, getting guys back like Chris Houston, getting guys back like Louis Delmas, getting a guy back like DeAndre Levy in free agency, handling a lot of your in-house needs by bringing guys back. Offensive line could be an issue. We'll see if you, in fact, have the guys in-house to take care of that problem. Defensive end was a need. You addressed it by getting 2 of them in this draft. Receiver was a need. You got a guy like Corey Fuller. So I think you handled a lot of the issues that plagued you a season ago. We know cornerback was a big problem for you last year. But defensive end and cornerback go hand in hand. You can't get pressure on a quarterback. Your defensive backs are going to be left out to dry. And your guys were on the clothesline last year. They were drying out in the sun for too long. And so if you can get pressure on the quarterback, your cornerbacks will look a lot better. And that's hopefully what you will accomplish by getting a guy like Ziggy Ansah, Jason Jones in free agency. Maybe you'll start getting more consistent pressure on the quarterback. You got a corner in Darius Slade to add to a guy like Chris Houston. Let's see if you can stay healthy. Staying healthy is going to be key for you. Louis Delmas seems like he's never healthy. When he's healthy, he's effective. Your team is a lot better. If he can stay healthy, if Jason Jones, who is always injured, can stay healthy, if Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley can stay healthy, if you can keep your team relatively healthy on the defensive side of football, this season could be different for you than 2012 was. But if is a big word, the biggest two-letter word in the dictionary. So I think the draft is a double overall for the Lions. I think they did a great job of addressing needs. Let's see if this draft class is able to have the impact that the Lions need them to have them get back to the postseason in 2013. It's a double for the Lions in the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up.
Draft Zone.